that he has a stress injury, that this thing has evolved over time, and it requires 0 surgery to heal.
Stress fracture.
A stress injury, yeah. You can word it how you want.
Well,
fracture, injury.
Okay. And when did he first start complaining about it, and when did the team first become aware?
It's just evolved over time. Listen, I'm not gonna get into a ton of specifics on this. You know that right now. So he's questionable. Listed as questionable.
Why can't you go into specifics about your franchise quarterbacks?
Because I don't think it needs to be aired out publicly. It's an in-house decision, and that's the way we're going to keep it. And it's in Carson's best interest right now.
So my questions about the discovery of the fracture and how that all comes to play. Can you lend any insight into that? Have you guys been giving tests periodically?
What I know is that this thing has evolved over time.
Has it impacted your play calling at all in terms of rolling him out to the side or anything like that?
No. No.
What was your understanding of? You mentioned it happened over time. What was your understanding of the injury during the last few games?
Again, this thing has just evolved. So, we were rolling.
Does that mean it's gotten worse since he appeared in the injury report in mid-October? Has it gotten worse since that point?
Has he felt worse?
Yes.
No.
Is his placement on the injury report in October related to? Is this injury related to the one that first popped up in the injury report?
He has a stress injury, evolved over time, and he requires no surgery. I'm not asking or answering any more questions about it. We're playing the Rams in 2 days, if you guys haven't figured this out. So he's listed as questionable, and that's the way it is.
Will he make a full recovery?
Yes.
Do you know how long that recovery will take?
Don't want to put a timetable on it, but it could be 3 months, possibly.
If you decide before you leave that you're going to go with Nick, it's possible that you won't take Carson on the business back.
No, he's traveling.
If the injury does, is there a risk to putting him back out there? You mentioned he's questionable, which would theoretically give him a chance to play. Is there a risk in further injury if you put him out there?
If we put him out there, there has to be 100% that there's no risk of anything further.
So why wasn't that the...
So it's questionable.
But
So why was that the standard then throughout the season? If this has evolved over time, then it means he's been playing with an injury over time. So why wasn't that the standard when the injury first came up? Are you following what I'm asking?
Yeah, you're asking when it happened.
No, but for something to evolve.
For something to evolve, it takes time. And when is that window? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
where is that window?
For something to evolve, it means it didn't happen this past week. Therefore, it's been evolving, like you said. So, from the time when it started evolving, why wasn't this identified then?
Because at the time, probably it wasn't identified as a stress injury or stress fracture, as you said.
Okay. So as you look at that from an organizational perspective, is there concern that you had him out there while this was getting worse?
No, because he was. There were no symptoms. He was 100%. He practiced. He was not on the injury report. For this. So, yeah, I had no issue with that.
To the naked eye, it seemed like he was not running as much.
Well, I answered that earlier in the week. I answered this earlier in the week about the Dallas Cowboy D-line and how teams know Carson runs. Rush lanes change. Rush patterns change. Blitzes change to keep a guy like Carson Wentz. And same as I think I even brought up Michael Vick. Teams would blitz and rush Michael Vick differently to keep him in the pocket. So you can't just say, well, he's not running more. Well, put some credit back on the defense and say, hey, they rush a little bit differently too.
What about his production throwing the ball down the field? The missing throws that typically he does make. I mean, did you guys see all this and think that he?
Well, we saw the missed throws, but we're not linking the two together. We just got to get better at making the throw.
On Monday, you said he's feeling as healthy as he's ever been. Was that your understanding when you got back from Dallas that there were no issues with his health?
Yeah.
No, for Carson to be able to play on Sunday night, wouldn't he have to go through the same kinds of tests, possibly out in LA for that to happen? What would the feasibility of that be?
Well, I mean, we're still gathering a lot of information, so the feasibility is probably pretty high.
When did you guys discover the fracture?
When?
Yes.
He had a test done on Tuesday,
And then the results came back on.
and then everything since that point. So everything's evolved up until Tuesday. Until you do a scan, you don't know.
You mentioned before that angles connected to the leg. Is he compensating for the knee? Is this
No.
has anything to do with
No.
Have they made any?
No.
With the test on Tuesday, was that something that happens like regularly, or did he complain about some sort of discomfort?
We do a lot of testing each week on a lot of players. We've done Tim Jernigan. We do all our. We've done Sidney Jones. We've done all the guys that have been injured. Avante Maddox. We do them all every week. And Carson's no different. He's been on the injury report from the beginning of the season for other reasons. And so we continue to monitor. And again, that's part of us gathering the information that we need to make sure the guys are ready to go.
You said at the beginning of the season that you're married to him for the next decade. This is his fourth injury of varying levels in 4 years, dating back to his last year of college. So how concerned are you about that going forward?
I think it's a pretty, to ask the question now after 3 years and the injury, situation that's going on. I think you guys can sit here and say that it's probably a red flag. A lot of injuries occur because of the nature of the sport, the violent hits of this sport. Guys know exactly what they are getting into, even at a young age. And Carson's no different. But, moving forward, we just got to make sure that we do a better job of protecting him, starting with the offensive line, starting with the backs. He does his part by, getting the ball out of his hand. I do my part by maybe incorporating more screens and quick throws to help that. But it's not in any way going to change the aggressiveness of my nature or his moving forward.
This is the first injury we've had guys one thing to another period of coverage, et cetera. If you're comfortable with the training staff, is that still at a certain level?
It's at a high level because of the communication that we have, myself, Howie, our docs, Jerome, Shireen, everybody involved. We've had a lot of really good conversations, a lot of good protocols put in place for every injured athlete that we've had this season.
As a follow-up to that,
Listen, that's a doctor question. I'm not getting into those. That's a medical. I'm not getting into that.
I recognize as I ask this that you're not on the bench. But,
Thank you
but they're not
for
up
recognizing
here. No,
that.
But they're not up here, and Howie's not up here, so he asks you.
I'm the head football coach,
Exactly.
and so I get the pleasure of coming up here. That's my job.
Yeah,
That's what I have to do.
So as you look at the injuries this season, Carson among them, have you noticed a trend in injuries that have regressed or have gotten worse?
Specifically,
Darren Sproles, Tim Jernigan, Jalen Mills showed up in a walking boot a few weeks into the injury. Sidney Jones has re-injured himself 3 times in games this year. I understand it's violent.
there's a fine line with guys that can return to play that have an injury, and there's a fine line of how far you want to push an athlete to test him to see where he's at physically through his protocol. And we have a protocol. Each athlete has their own, based on injury, has their own protocol, and we have to measure where he is. I don't know, stage 3, stage 4, however many stages there are in that protocol. And so for these athletes, one, for them internally, they want to get back out on the field. Sproles wants to get back out. Jalen wants to get back out. Tim wants to get back out, the guys you mentioned. So we're going to put them through a sort of our own internal tests, right? And so there's a fine line to how much we can push. And then sometimes within that pushing from, whether it's doctors, it could be, the trainer, the player himself. There could be setbacks because we're trying to see where the athlete is, and that happens. That happens with everybody in the National Football League. So that's kind of what's happened. But I don't think that we've had a setback or a step back at all with any of that.
Two more questions. I was the only person from the organization that was up here answering questions about the medical staff. One question that's never been answered is why were the top 2 doctors fired after you guys won the Super Bowl?
I'm not even going to comment on that either.
Doug, you've had a back fracture before. You know the nature of back.
Mine was different.
I know it is. Back,
Totally different.
That's where the questions go. And this is a stress fracture, which I've seen termed as a trickier form of a back fracture. Is that your understanding? What is your long-term concern when it comes to this?
The information is that it required, number one, no surgery, which is a positive. Mine didn't need surgery either, but mine was completely different. Mine was a transverse process that was broke off with some other damage back there. So 2 different injuries. And the fact that he doesn't need surgery on this, I mean, is the best news that you could possibly have on anybody that has a stress fracture or stress injury in this case.
But in terms of the long-term outlook, I mean, is there still a level of haste
No.
Because of the trickiness that comes with, especially?
No. As long as we take the proper steps to make sure that all our players are 100%, then no.
Why not shut them down?
Thank you.
All right. I'm out.
Hello everyone, Paul Rupel here with Fox 29 News Now. You've been watching a news conference at the Eagles Training Center where Eagles head coach Doug Peterson was talking about the injury to franchise quarterback Carson Wentz. You heard the coach say that the Eagles quarterback's injury to his back, he's calling it a stress injury. Other reports in the media have been that it's a broken vertebrae in his back. Will not require surgery, so that's the good news and the headline out of this right now. The coach obviously testy about some of the questions about the injury. The Eagles have a huge game versus the Rams Sunday night, but the quarterback's health there, Carson Wentz's, is obviously a high topic of conversation. There are reports that he's been dealing with this injury for some time and he's likely going to miss the rest of the season. Peterson wouldn't go that far. He said that he seemed to indicate that this is a new injury, that is not something he's been dealing with for some time, and is not discussing his availability beyond this weekend. He said he's questionable for Sunday night's game. Teammates have said they knew something wasn't right, so that might point to this having been a longer-term injury. But as we said, the coach is not saying that. There are also reports that Wentz is seeking medical advice from outside the team's medical team. In the wake of the Carson Wentz injury news, former Eagle Emmanuel Acho has been speaking out against the Eagles medical staff. Acho played for the Eagles from 2013 to 2015. That was under head coach Chip Kelly and his staff. But he made an interesting point about NFL teams and their handling of injuries, specifically calling the Eagles staff when he played suspect. So, of course, we'll have the latest on Carson Wentz at a preview of the Eagles-Rams on Sunday morning. Start your day with Fox 29 Game Day Live at 10 a.m. And later at 1, it's Cowboys and Colts. Of course, if Carson can't go, Nick Foles will get the start against the Rams. You remember last year Foles came into the game versus the Rams after Wentz got hurt. Foles helped seal a division-clinching win for the Eagles. This year the Rams are tied with the Saints for the best record in the NFL at 11-2. So we'll have the latest for you on Game Day Live Sunday morning. For now, let's take a look at our weather. You see, it's about to get pretty rainy in our area this weekend. Going to be some heavy rain. Unsettled weather, I think, is how our Scott Williams has been calling it on Good Day Philadelphia this week and this morning. Let's get you a look at current conditions outside our studios. You're looking live at Market Street from about 4th Street, the intersection there at 3rd. Currently, it's 44 degrees outside. Dew point is 41. Winds out of the east at 4 miles per hour. Some parts of our area are under a dense fog advisory, particularly to the south and around the Chesapeake Bay, Delmarva. You can see some of that fog there on the camera, looking at the Benjamin Franklin Parkway and the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Here's a look at current temperatures around the region. See, we're in the 40s across much of the region, upper 40s nearing 50 along the coast, while to the north and west, some 30s up there. It's pretty consistent with the map around the region. 50 down in Ocean City, Maryland, but 30s up in New England for the most part. 30s back into Virginia. And 30s up in Canada, Rochester, around the Great Lakes. The 46 in Cleveland, 40 in Pittsburgh. That's some of the warmer weather. It's going to be heading our way. We could get up to 53 today. Here are your temperatures around the region. Near 80 in Florida. 56 in New Orleans. Some cold temperatures across the plains. And over the Rockies, Salt Lake City only 24 right now. 27 in Minneapolis. But 40s and 50s on the Pacific coast at this moment. Here's a look at wind speeds right now. Calm in Philadelphia. Single digits across much of the area, so we're not going to have much in the way of gusts to speak of, but those winds seem to be coming out of the east for much of the area. Visibility pretty poor. There's the dense fog we were talking about. Lancaster, not much visibility at all. 0. Mount Pocono, same. 7s for a lot of the South Jersey and Delaware and Philadelphia areas. It's actually better to the east right now along the coast. Wrightstown getting the only 10 on the board. So be careful driving. Take that visibility into account if you are on the road today. Wind chills aren't bringing temperatures down too much right now. Show you our Fox 29 weather by the numbers. Collins today is 6. And here's a look at your 7-day forecast from the Weather Authority. Evening showers tonight, a high of 51. Damp and dreary tomorrow, 51 again, but we're only calling that a 4. It's going to be significant rain in the area this weekend. Showers around still on Sunday, high only 44. Monday, sun and clouds, 46. Tuesday, mostly sunny, 42. Wednesday, partly sunny, 41. Tuesday's 42. Wednesday's 41. Thursday, shower chance, 46. Let's take you on a tour of our cameras. You can see some of the conditions around the region. Here are our weather cameras around the Philadelphia region. All right, we're going to take it back live here. Earlier this morning, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg participated in a naturalization ceremony hosted by the National Archives and Record Administration. This was in celebration of the Bill of Rights Day. 31 candidates from 26 nations were being sworn in. I want to show you some of the taped replay of that event. I believe the Supreme Court Justice speaks very soon after this point. Let's go to the tape here, and I believe she speaks within a couple minutes here.
Cases, 6 of which brought her before the U.S. Supreme Court. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter nominated her to the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. And in 1993, President Bill Clinton nominated her as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. The notorious R.B.G. is now a pop culture icon with legions of fans, and we are thrilled to have her with us today. As exciting as it is to have R.B.G. herself with us this morning, equally exciting is to welcome back Bryant W. Johnson from the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, who just happens to be the person who called our ceremony to order, which he has done for many years, but he also happens to be the Justice's personal trainer and has written a terrific book, The RGB Workout, How She Stays Strong, and You Can Too. Please welcome Justice Ginsburg.
Thank you, my fellow Americans. It is my great privilege to welcome you to citizenship in the democracy that is the USA. You number 31 and came here from 26 countries, alphabetically from China to Venezuela. Today, you join more than 20 million current citizens born in other lands who chose, as you have, to make the United States of America their home. We are a nation made strong by people like you, people who traveled long distances, overcame great obstacles, and made tremendous sacrifices, all to provide a better life for themselves and their families. My own father arrived in this land at age 13 with no fortune and speaking no English. My mother was born 4 months after her parents, with several children in tow, came by ship to Ellis Island. My father and my grandparents reached, as you do, for the American dream. As testament to our nation's promise, the daughter and granddaughter of immigrants sits on the highest court in the land. In America, land of opportunity, that prospect is within the realm of the achievable. What is the difference between a bookkeeper in New York City's Garment District and a Supreme Court justice? One generation, my own life bears witness. The difference between the opportunities available to my mother and those afforded me. You have studied our system of government and know of its twin pillars. First, our government has limited power. It can exercise only the authority given to it by the Constitution. And second, citizens of this country enjoy certain fundamental rights. Those rights are our nation's hallmark. They are set forth in the Bill of Rights and other provisions of the amendments to the Constitution. They are inalienable, yielding to no government decree. Our Constitution opens, as you have just heard, with the words, "We the people of the United States," by limiting government, specifying rights, and empowering the people. The founders of the United States proclaimed that the heart of America would be its citizens, not its rulers. After the words, "We the people of the United States," the Constitution sets out the aspiration to form a more perfect union. At the start, it is true, the Union very much needed perfection. The original Constitution permitted slavery and severely limited who counted among we the people. When the nation was new, only white property-owning men had the right to vote, the most basic right of citizenship. But over the course of our history, people left out at the beginning, people held in human bondage, Native Americans, and half the population, women, came to be embraced as full citizens. A French observer of early America, Alexis de Tocqueville, wrote that the greatness of America lies not in being more enlightened than other nations, but rather in her ability to repair her faults. Through amendments to our Constitution and court decisions applying those amendments, we abolished slavery, prohibited racial discrimination, and made men and women people of equal citizenship stature. In the vanguard of those perfections were people just like you, new Americans of every race and creed, making ever more vibrant our national motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Though we have made huge progress, the work of perfection is scarcely done. Many stains remain. In this rich land, nearly a quarter of our children live in poverty. Nearly half of our citizens do not vote. And we still struggle to achieve greater understanding and appreciation of each other across racial, religious, and socioeconomic lines. Yet we strive to realize the ideal to become a more perfect union. As well-informed new citizens, you will play your part, a vital part in that endeavor, by first and foremost voting in elections, also serving on juries, and engaging in civil discourse and all the other things the director just mentioned. We sing of America, sweet land of liberty. Newcomers to our shores, people like you, came here from the earliest days of our nation to today, seeking liberty, freedom from oppression, freedom from want, freedom to be you and me. I would like to convey to you, finally, how a great American jurist, Judge Learned Hand, understood liberty. He explained in 1944 what liberty meant to him when he greeted a large assemblage of new Americans gathered in New York City's Central Park to swear allegiance, as you just did, to the United States. These are Judge Hand's words. Just what is this sacred liberty that must lie in the hearts of men and women? It is not the rootless, unbridled will. It is not freedom to do as one likes. I cannot define the spirit of liberty. I can only tell you my own faith. The spirit of liberty is the spirit which is not too sure that it is right. The spirit of liberty is the spirit which seeks to understand the minds of other men and women. The spirit of liberty is the spirit which weighs their interests alongside its own without bias. May the spirit of liberty, as Judge Hand explained it, be your beacon. May you have the conscience and the courage to act in accord with that high ideal as you play your part in helping to achieve a more perfect union. Every best wish.
Thank you, Justice Greenberg.
Justice Ginsburg. I'm going to make some closing remarks before we have Bryant Johnson close the ceremony. Our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, and our Bill of Rights rest under glass in this room, as the archivist pointed out on all sides of us. The Bill of Rights, the collective name of the first 10 amendments to our Constitution, give us clear guidance about the inalienable rights each person holds. And these listed rights, including freedom of speech, religion, equal protection, due process, set rules about the mutual respect we owe each other and our shared responsibility to adhere to and uphold these rights, which are so critical to our civic order and to ensure we have the more perfect union that the Constitution set out as its goal. We have almost 328 million Americans living together, many with radically different views about the problems and the solutions confronting this nation, some of which Justice Ginsburg pointed out. This can sound messy, downright divisive, but no matter their differences or where they come from, as Americans, they each share the rights granted under the Constitution. Most Americans are here because their parents, grandparents, or more distant relatives made the courageous choice that each of you new citizens have made to leave the countries where they grew up, where they knew the language, where they had family and friends, to follow their dreams to this new country. This is not easy, and as Director Cisnep acknowledged, many of you have waited, studied, and worked hard to arrive at this day. People do come to America for many different reasons. Some leave the countries of their birth because of war or to escape difficult situations, but all who come here do aspire to build better lives for themselves and their children. America truly is the great melting pot. We're all enriched and better for it. So no matter where you come from, today each of you will be able to say you are an American citizen. So as citizens, you have all the rights we've talked about under our Constitution and enforced, if necessary, in courts around the country, presided over by federal judges like me and ultimately by justices of the Supreme Court like Justice Ginsburg. You have the right to practice your faith or not follow any religion at all if you don't want to. You have the right to speak freely about matters you care about, the right to privacy in your home. As citizens, you each have equal rights before the law with an equal share in the freedom to pursue your own version of happiness. Of course, our Constitution doesn't guarantee that you will find happiness, but the founders of the nation stated their intention in the Declaration of Independence to design a form of government where you are certainly free to try. And as citizens, we not only have rights, but we have duties and responsibilities. And as new citizens, I hope you make 3 choices about your lives as American citizens. First, I do hope you choose to be involved. We're a self-governing people. Self-government works best when its citizens are involved and informed. You should seek to inform yourselves, read and listen, and understand the choices we face as a nation. An educated citizenry is essential to the continuation of a self-governing country. Your children, your grandchildren, your family will learn the duties of citizenship by watching you. So when you go to vote, take your children with you to see how you do it. We have congressional elections every 2 years, presidential elections every 4 years. Pay attention in between to what our elected officials are doing, and talk to your children about what you're hearing and learning. Teach them through your action that not only are we free to complain about our political leaders or what we see going on around us, we can vote to change our leaders or vote to keep them. The United States may not be perfect, but we have a powerful tool in the voting booth to make improvements. I hope you also make a second choice. Choose to make a positive contribution to your communities. We expect you to be law-abiding, but as citizens, expect more from yourselves than that. We may not all be able to perform public service at the level of our speakers, the Archivist of the United States, or the head of the Citizenship and Immigration Service, or Justice Ginsburg, who serves on the front line of protecting our rights, but we can all do our part, whether it's picking up litter, helping a neighbor, or volunteering at your children's school. Finally, I hope you all make a third choice to share your stories. Many Americans take their citizenship for granted. By telling your story about why you chose to come here and what you went through to get here helps your fellow Americans appreciate what we have in our country. Plus, America is a richer place because of your stories and the cultural experiences that you bring here with you. America's strength truly is the diversity of its people. So, choose to be involved, choose to make a positive contribution to your community, and choose to tell your stories. I join our other speakers in congratulating you as America's newest citizens. By your conduct and your qualifications and actions here this morning, you have each earned your rightful place to be called an American citizen. So congratulations again to all of you.
All right. This concludes the ceremony. This honorable court is now adjourned. At this moment, I need everyone to have a seat while we present the certificates of naturalization to my new brothers and sisters. Everyone, please have a seat. Thank you. Receiving line display.
You've been watching a naturalization ceremony where Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is taking part in the ceremony. The Supreme Court Justice attending the event there, you see the lighting's a little bit off. This is actually occurring in the National Archives Museum, surrounded by some of the nation's most important documents. So I suspect for historical preservation purposes that may account for the odd lighting that you're seeing there. But 31 candidates from 26 nations being sworn in here during this ceremony. In front of the original Charters of Freedom here. Looks like we ran out of tape there. It was neat to be able to bring you that ceremony occurring in Washington, D.C. Let's take a quick look at the stock market. We're bouncing around from live event to live event here a little bit. We had Doug Peterson's news conference with the Eagles, had a just completed naturalization ceremony there with the Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and now we're taking a live look at the stock market. Right now the market's down about 1.25 percentage points, 307 down. Dow Jones Industrial Average at 24,290. been a turbulent time on the market. Looking at Fox Business headlines right now, they're saying that where did my headline go that I was going to cite there? Chinese markets, some of the volatility in Chinese markets this morning may be affecting the local markets here. November retail sales rose moderately, but global growth concerns are weighing on the market this morning. Oil prices have been dropping amid China economy worries, but output cuts support as well. So, we'll keep watching the markets there. Keep an eye on those. We have a couple stories to bring you locally. One is an important story following up on something we told you about yesterday. Another local school is being rocked by a disturbing hazing incident. 4 members of a high school wrestling team face charges for tying up a student and threatening sexual assault. It's another example of a disturbing trend. What can be done to prevent hazing like this in the future? We had a guest on Good Day Philadelphia this morning to help us work through that topic. And here is the conversation from our air this morning.
On this Friday, police in Salem County are investigating some very disturbing allegations involving the wrestling team at a local school. The incident happened in Pittsgrove, Arthur Shalick High School. According to the county prosecutor's office, the 4 students have been arrested for stripping a victim in a shower, young man, restraining that student, and threatening a sexual assault with a broomstick.
I think it's just crazy what kids are doing today to each other, bullying and then threatening other students. It's just nuts.
I think it's completely wrong. It's completely wrong. It's completely sad, and they really need to work on the security around here.
All right, let's talk about it. We have a psychologist with us. She's back with us again. Author of Growing Friendships, Eileen Kennedy Morris here. Doctor, good to have you back here.
Thanks
along
for
with
having me.
Attorney Fred Perry. Dr. Kennedy Morris, let's start with you. Grab a student, hold that student down, threaten to penetrate him with a broomstick. What is that about? Is that power? What are they trying to accomplish with that message?
Well, Mike, I don't know these specific children, but I can say that there are some general beliefs that tend to underlie these sorts of incidents, these horrible, horrible incidents. And the most dangerous belief is that this doesn't count as bad. So rationalizations are those excuses that we tell ourselves to justify bad behavior. And examples could be, he deserves it because he's young or weak or weird, or we were just kidding around, or maybe this is a tradition.
Okay, real quickly, we've had other instances with broomsticks, Conestoga High School, in Maryland. I go all the way back decades ago to Abner Louima up in New York City. What is that? Is it dominance?
It's dominance and it's cruelty, and they feel powerful. But I think as parents, we really want to take on those rationalizations head on. And a good way to do it is to talk about these with our kids, to give some examples of rationalizations and see if your child can explain why they don't justify cruel behavior.
Yeah. Fred, what are the charges going to be?
Well, it sounds like they're going to be charged with aggravated assault, obviously a conspiracy, and the hazing charges and maybe attempted sexual assault charges. Unfortunately for them, the ones that are charged in this case, it sounds like they're going to be charged in the juvenile system, which is a benefit because, as the doctors indicated, that there'll be some sense from the juvenile authorities to try and get to the bottom of why they're involved in this type of conduct. This goes far beyond what, in the old days, the initiation when you played on a ball team was.
Yeah.
You'd go in the cafeteria, wear a silly outfit, and sing the school fight song. I mean, this is mind-numbing.
Well, Doctor, it almost seems like a lack of empathy. You talk about that in your book.
I do. So empathy blind spots are when we somehow see a certain person as not deserving of empathy. So my guess is if we took these kids and we sat them down in a living room or in a classroom and say, and ask them, is it bad or good to threaten someone, tie them up, and etc.? I bet that almost all of them would say, no, that's a bad thing. But sometimes kids get caught up in the moment. And we know from research that children tend to overestimate their peers' acceptance of bad behavior. So that can shift everybody into doing awful things.
And you bet it wouldn't happen one-on-one. This is a group thing, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's kind of the momentum of the group. Everybody thinks, well, everybody else is okay with this. I don't want to be weird. And they end up doing something that they all know isn't right.
Yeah, Fred, what could be the most severe charges, or punishment?
Well, Mike, I think what you also need to look at is there any institutional knowledge with respect to the coaches, the assistant coaches, the individuals running
We're waiting to hear about
weight
that,
rooms. Fred. Yeah, and I think if this is some type of an ongoing tradition, there's a lot of people that know about these types of things, and I think an investigation should be conducted along those lines.
Doctor, you're not probably surprised that other students probably heard about it, didn't speak up.
Right. And I think one thing that really keeps kids from speaking up is the fear that if they do say something, they are going to be targeted. So that can make kids stay silent. But we know from research on bullying that the way to stop this is with those upstanders, those kids who say this isn't right. Sometimes they can speak up directly if it's safe to do so, but sometimes they need to be more discreet and involve a responsible adult.
Superintendent issued a statement yesterday. We played on it. We have it on our website, fox29.com. If you want to read it again, there it is. It's pretty lengthy. They say they understand the situation and they're taking care of it, dealing with it, and they'll give us more information as it gets resolved. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend. We'll be right back.
You do the same.
The Fox 29 on Tuesday.
So that was an important discussion. How do we prevent incidents like that from happening? 4 students charged, ramifications potentially for the rest of their lives. Of course, the victim. Of course, everybody's presumed innocent until this case is adjudicated in court, but sad situation to be encountering, and any way that we can prevent that type of thing is something we can all work towards. Here is another story we talked about yesterday on Good Day Philadelphia. Creepy yet somehow convincing. More warnings about this disturbing avatar is part of a dangerous contest for your children. What parents can do to keep your kids from falling victim to it. This, of course, is the Momo Challenge. And here is the conversation from Good Day Philadelphia this morning.
On Sunday, as that rainfall continues. Back over to you.
Okay, parents, listen up. You need to know about the Momo Challenge.
It's a creepy game that's really circulating on social media, and it's dangerous enough that police across the country are warning parents about it. It features a scary-looking avatar, like the one you see there, of a woman, that asks children to perform different tasks, and the tasks get increasingly more dangerous, more difficult, and then the kids have to provide pictures as proof. Authorities fear the game may result in more violent acts, like suicide being carried out. There's already been an instance of a child, who died by suicide because of this game.
And that's the reason why officials at one Brick Township school sent letters home to parents, and the reason we're talking about the Momo Challenge this morning with this woman right here. You've seen her before on the show, Dr. Kim Dean, chair of the School of Education at Arcadia University. Doctor, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Describe just maybe one or two of these tasks that the kids would be asked to perform.
They start out, the way it's described, there's very little evidence of it actually occurring. A lot of it's more about the talking about it and the excitement and the fear about it. But the tasks are small things at first, like take a picture of yourself overcoming a fear or doing something, jumping off something that's a little bit high or doing something small. And then the description of the game is that it escalates over time to more dangerous activities.
Why do we see this noose there?
The myth, the urban myth, the story of the game is that it asks you to do escalatingly dangerous things until finally it might ask you to do something to harm yourself in some serious way.
And take a picture of it.
And post that back on social media.
Gotcha.
And is this one person behind this creating up these tasks, or is it because it's social media, different people asking you to do it?
Do you know what's really interesting about it is that there's very little evidence. Very few people have actually interacted with it. At this point, it's more of a myth and a legend that kids are talking about.
And they're posting
intensity.
about it. Because if you look on Instagram, the Momo Challenge, there's like thousands of pictures and people talking about it.
And so it's really a balance for the media, right? To give attention to it, make sure parents are aware of it. There are reasons that kids might get really excited and motivated to become part of something that's exciting, interesting, feels dangerous. So we need parents to be aware of it, but we also, the more attention we give to it, the more likely kids are going to be talking about it.
And that's the things we have to worry about here on television is we don't want to talk about it so much that we promote it, but we got to alert the parents that they need to talk to their kids about it.
Right.
And go to your kids. You've heard of the Momo Challenge, and this is how stupid it is and stuff like that. So what's so enticing for a child?
Yeah, intrigue, excitement. Mystery is part of normal development. You can remember when you were a kid, you found something and you and your friends were trying to crack a case and you're running around the neighborhood. Kids now don't have the opportunities to have the kinds of freedom and the kinds of excitement and the kinds of independent, discovery and that feeling of
adventure.
Yeah. Exactly, and also feeling connected to others. And this is something that kind of does all of that.
Yeah, you're a little club.
So what do you do then as a parent if you talk about it with your kid and they're like, Mom, it's no big deal, everyone's doing it. Like, I don't want to be left out. What do you say to, if they're
Well, I
feeling
think
that way?
it's hard to start with really young kids, but giving them both sides of media. And first of all, finding ways for them to have that sense of adventure. What's appropriate thrill-seeking for a kid who's in first grade? Kids shouldn't be talking about this. They should be going to a skate park and doing big, exciting, dangerous things, helping others, being in a service situation. But if kids are interested and looking into it, I think it's interesting and important to have conversations with your kids about what are the motivations of this kind of an app? Why would somebody be doing this? Why would they want you to be doing it? Are they making money from it? Are they getting clicks? Are they trying to feel powerful? And giving them the empowerment to say, this is dumb, like you were saying, like, oh, this is stupid. Let's not get involved with that. Let's think about ways we can make a difference or have an exciting
Well, sometimes
impact.
when your parents are against it, it's more appealing.
Right.
Yeah,
and my son, who's 11, when I'm getting tips, I told him we were going to talk about it. He said, Mom, have him show the whole image, because when you see the image, which is creepy and has taken on this life of its own, it's a sculpture. It was meant for a prop for a movie, and it's a chicken body on a weird head, and any image can take on this kind of power, and we can help take away the power by demystifying it.
Do what she does. You got to talk to your kids.
You do, yeah. And you one important thing, don't give them any information if they're not asking you about it. But I think making them aware that this is something that's silly, inappropriate, you shouldn't be involved in it. But if they do have that awareness, demystify it for them, let them know what it is, and try to debunk.
Doctor, good to see you again.
It's great to be here. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Here's a weird phrase. She's been cleared for cat suits. It's Serena Williams.
That was our conversation following up about the Momo Challenge incident, or a social trend that we brought you some conversation about yesterday. Let's take another quick look at weather. There you see the rain moving into the area, expected to arrive later today. We do anticipate it being quite wet and stormy. At parts, raining parts of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here again is a look at Market Street East outside our studios. 47 degrees right now, so we've warmed up a couple ticks already since last we checked in. Winds out of the east at 8 miles per hour still. Let's give you another look at the 7-day forecast here. We are told visibilities are starting to improve across the region. That's according to the National Weather Authority. Excuse me, combine my weather entities. National Weather Service. Of course, you could see on our cameras that we showed you earlier around the region that conditions Still pretty foggy in some parts of our area, but that fog is starting to lift. We do expect evening showers tonight, a high of 51, 51 again tomorrow, damp and dreary. Showers around Sunday, high of 44. Sun and clouds Monday, we dry out, 46. Mostly sunny, 42 on Tuesday. Pretty similar Wednesday, partly sunny, 41. And then shower chance returns on Thursday when we get to 46. Let's talk a little bit about some local stories. Then we'll get you to some national ones again. A mother was shot and killed in front of her newborn daughter in the Ogon section of the city today. A 24-year-old woman has died after police say she was shot and killed near her 5-day-old baby girl. This occurred on the 6300 block of North Woodstock Street around 4 a.m. Friday morning. Police say the victim was shot multiple times in the second-floor bedroom of a home, just feet away from her newborn child sleeping in a crib. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene at 4:22 a.m. Fox 29's Steve Keeley was following the story all morning. He reported at least 2 bullet casings were found on the bedroom floor, and police say that there appears to have been a struggle inside the home. The woman's boyfriend, who is believed to be the child's father, was not home at the time, and police say they're actively looking for him. The newborn baby girl was taken to St. Christopher's Hospital for Children to receive care. No arrests have been made at this time, but police are continuing to search for the gunman. Steve showed that there was a bullet. One of the bullets apparently came out a window of the bedroom onto the street. Here's some sound from police about what they encountered there.
We found at least 2 spent shell casings inside on the second floor. It does appear that there was some sort of struggle on the second floor. Some of the furniture was overturned, and it does appear that there was some sort of a struggle inside. The 24-year-old woman's boyfriend, who we believe is the father, also lived there. He was not at home at the time. We're actively looking for him right now. We know who he is. That's definitely something unusual for police to come up on. The mother was pronounced dead on the second floor, front bedroom, and we're getting information that was her bedroom. And in a crib just feet away from where her body lay dead was the 2-day-old daughter. Fortunately, 2 days old, she's going to be way too young to remember something like this, but it's still an unusual scene and a tragedy all around.
Absolutely a tragedy. We'll continue to follow this story. I believe our Bruce Gordon is out there reporting on this story today, and we'll have more on the Fox 29 News at 5, 6, 10, and 11. A shooting inside a Logan Barber shop left 1 man dead and 3 others in the hospital. Police say the gunman walked in wearing a ski mask and opened fire just after 7 last night. The barber shop is located on the 4500 block of North Broad Street. The 4 victims range in age from 28 to 46 years old. Investigators are working to identify the killer and the motive. You probably heard about this story yesterday. A swath of emailed bomb threats have been sent to various places across the country Thursday. Now officials are saying it was a hoax. So far, these Bitcoin bomb threat emails have been sent to businesses and individuals. Philadelphia police confirmed receiving them. Locally, we heard there was an alert at Penn State University campus about this incident. Lancaster County put out an alert that multiple places in their jurisdiction received it. The emails ask for $20,000 in Bitcoins, threatening that there is an explosive inside the building where you work, suggesting that if the sum is not paid, that bomb will be detonated. Police across the country are warning people not to pay the ransom. None of these threats have been found to be credible. Some examples of businesses which got hit include churches, apartment leasing offices, printing shops. Many of those places did evacuate as a precaution, even though police believe this is a hoax. They're still checking those places just to be safe in some locales. Looking at our Associated Press wires to see any other information. They say some of the emails had the subject line "Think Twice." They were sent from a spoofed email address. The sender claimed to have had an associate plant a small bomb in the recipient's building, and the only way they could stop them was by from setting it off was by making an online payment of 20,000 Bitcoin. New York City's Police Department's counterterrorism unit tweeted yesterday afternoon, "We're currently monitoring multiple bomb threats that have been sent electronically to various locations throughout the city. These threats are also being reported to other locations nationwide and are not considered credible at this time." Other law enforcement agencies also dismissed the threats, which were written in a choppy style reminiscent of the Nigerian Prince email scam. So keep an eye out for that. If you receive those, I believe they still do want you to contact 911 to contact local authorities. If you receive an email like that, the investigation continues. For the first time since being sentenced Friday, President Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen has been speaking out and telling his side of the story. Addressing the president's tweets Friday morning, these I believe the emails were prior, but Michael Cohen went on ABC News this morning to address these Friday morning. Those emails, or those tweets by the president, claimed Cohen wanted to embarrass the president. Cohen is due to report to prison on March 6th. Here's a snippet of that interview between George Stephanopoulos and the president's former lawyer.
He says, his claim, you're lying about him to protect your wife, to protect your father-in-law.
Inaccurate. He knows the truth. I know the truth. Others know the truth. And here is the truth. The people of the United States of America, the people of the world, don't believe what he's saying. The man doesn't tell the truth. And it's sad that I should take responsibility for his dirty deeds.
He says, his claim, you're lying about him to protect your wife, to protect your father-in-law.
Inaccurate. He knows the truth. I know the truth. Others know the truth. And here is the truth. The people of the United States of America, the people of the world, don't believe what he's saying. The man doesn't tell the truth. And it's sad that I should take responsibility for his dirty deeds.
The president has been relatively quiet on Twitter this morning. He's steered away from responding to this incident, as far as I can tell. He has tweeted twice within the last 15 minutes or so. The first one says China just announced that their economy is growing much slower than anticipated because of the trade war with them. They have just suspended U.S. tariff hikes. U.S. is doing very well. China wants to make a big and very comprehensive deal. It could happen, and rather soon. And then he went on to add, just moments ago, China just announced that their economy is growing. Much slower than anticipated because of our trade war with them. They've just suspended the U.S. tariff hikes. This looks relatively similar to the tweet before. Not sure if there's a difference here looking at it. They appear to be the same tweet. Obviously, the market seemed to be a bit roiled this morning. Down again about, this is lower than last we looked, about 1.5 percentage points for a total of 381 points down at the moment. Dow Jones Industrial at 24,214. So perhaps the market's reacting to some of the conversation. They've obviously been reacting to some of the news out of China about its economy and its potential impact on local markets and the economy, the world economy. Here's a live shot of the White House. I'm going to show you this while we talk a little bit about a court ruling yesterday. A divided U.S. appeals court Thursday blocked rules by the Trump administration that allowed more employers to opt out of providing women with no-cost birth control. That ruling, however, may be short-lived because the administration has adopted new rules on contraceptive coverage. They're set to take effect next month and will likely prompt renewed legal challenges. Thursday's ruling by a 3-judge panel of the 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals concerned changes to birth control coverage requirements under President Barack Obama's health care law that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services issued in October 2017. States were likely to succeed on their claim that those changes were made without required notice and public comment, the appeals court panel said in a 2-1 decision. Another federal court also blocked the rules, and her nationwide injunction remains in place. The Associated Press says an email to the Justice Department seeking comment was not immediately returned. In a dissent, one of the judges said that economic harm to the states was self-inflicted because they chose to provide contraceptive coverage to women. The states, therefore, did not have the authority to bring the lawsuit. This judge said. He was a nominee of Republican President George H.W. Bush. The case became more complicated after the Trump administration last month issued new birth control coverage rules. They're set to supersede those at issue in the lawsuit before the Ninth Circuit. So, ongoing battle there in court. See how things shake out. Well, we bounced around quite a bit this morning. We went from the Eagles head coach, Doug Peterson, talking about the injury to his franchise quarterback, Carson Wentz. We showed a bit of a naturalization ceremony where Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg took part and made remarks about the importance of citizenship for the new 31 candidates being naturalized from 26 different nations. Taking a look at the stock market a bit and brought you some of our reporting from Good Day Philadelphia this morning and a look at some local stories and national stories making news. We hope you will stay with us join us for the Fox 29 news at 5, 6, 10, and 11 tonight. Hope the rest of your Friday goes well and have a great weekend. We'll be back with you Monday after Good Day Philadelphia. Signing off for the day. Have a great rest of your day and thank you for watching.